It's not just a phase, Mom. What's this? What the hell? Hello everyone, it is hopefully an okay editor 357 here, and today I will be doing a spoiler-free review of the visual novel Voices from the Sea, specifically the Plus version, which costs $5. Voices from the Sea was made and released by Zeiva Inc, a group of indie game developers who make mostly visual novels, but do have a couple titles that blend the visual novel genre with other game genres. And before I begin, I think it's worth noting that you can actually play Voices from the Sea for free, but it will be missing some content, and I'll talk more about the differences between the two versions, as well as if I think getting the Plus version is worth it later in this review. So now let's hop into the plot summary. Per the usual, any footage from the visual novel that could be seen as spoilery will be blurred or edited to avoid that. But to be fair, this is a visual novel that took me 90 minutes to read, so I may either be reusing footage a lot, or just having a lot of blurred footage. We'll see. Or maybe I'll finally figure out how to code a visual novel so I can make my Voices from the Sea fanfiction into a reality and use footage from that.
That's all you've written.
Listen, I'm not Picasso. I've only been writing for 24 hours. No, wait, 24 days. Or has it been months?
Voices from the Sea revolves around our main character, Cantus, whose personality is just as prickly as his name sounds. Get it? Because it's similar to cactus? Okay, never mind. Cantus is very tired of everyday life. He has no friends, seeing any and everyone in his life as an annoyance, or as he refers to them, noise. And he doesn't like noise. Clearly, he hasn't listened to Noise by Nightwish, or he'd feel much different.
So I've never actually heard this song before, and I feel like if I'm going to name drop it, it's my responsibility to listen to it. So, here we go. That's not bad. That's actually pretty cool.
Cantus finds himself spending most of his time alone at the sea, listening to the calming sound of the waves. That is, until a noisy and bubbly girl by the name of Mare shows up and starts talking to him. After realizing he's a grouchy grouch, she makes it her personal mission to get him to smile over the course of 7 days. And considering the visual novel clocks in at about an hour and a half, that's really all I can say for the plot. Cantus is going to go to the beach 7 times, and each time Maris will be there waiting for him and trying to get him to smile. This visual novel is about their relationship and how it affects Cantus, but there will be other questions or plot points throughout the story, such as,
how can I buy dopamine? I haven't had any since I was 5. I just want the happy juice, man. Life is never-ending pain. Oh wait, no, that's just my latest Google search result again.
just who is Maris? Why the 7-day time limit? And it will also go into his relationship with his mother at home and his antisocialness at school. So yeah, the story is mostly about Cantus and how spending his time with Maris changes him. So, what did I think of the story? I mean, it's no Sonic and Voices from the Sea crossover fanfiction.
No one steal that idea. That's mine. There. It's been copyrighted. You can't take that idea. I just pressed the C key on my keyboard, which stands for copyright.
In all seriousness, it's a good and simple story. At first, I didn't like the main character Cantus that much. I could relate to his disdain for the monotony and seemingly hopeless at times nature of life, but the way he talked about everything and interacted with everyone was just a little too on the nose for me. He's the model edgy boy who doesn't like hanging out with people because people are dumb, or noise as he calls them. And it's much more deep and meaningful to be on your own, do nothing, and listen to the sound of the waves. But, in fairness, his backstory or reason for being this way was actually well done and made me sympathize with the guy. It's a simple reason, but a realistic and I'm sure to some relatable one. I still think his characterization at first is kinda cringy, but as he spends more time with Maris, he changes, and watching that change happen is really satisfying. In between the days, the game has these forecasts which are like weather reports before his mood, and it's a really cute way of showing how he grows as a person throughout the story. His chemistry with Maris is great as well, him being the straight man of the two while Maris is fun and wacky, constantly trying to do things to get him to smile. They typically backfire, leading to a different outcome than she was expecting, but ones that do have an effect on Candace regardless. Maris herself, like I just said, is a fun character and I really enjoyed her time in the story, but she doesn't really go through any character development. Her main role in the story, aside from just being a treat to watch, is to progress Candace's character development, and she does that wonderfully. I feel like the story itself is the perfect length too. It gives you just enough time with the characters to figure out who they are, get attached, and, if you're like me, get a little sad once you reach the end of this short story and have to say goodbye to the characters. The message of this story, I really wish I could go into it, but it's kind of spoilery, or it'll make something in the plot really obvious if I do. So I'll just say this. It is a very powerful message that I think a lot of people can use. It's not necessarily something you don't already know, but it's nice to be reminded of, and I feel like this particular topic isn't touched upon too much in visual novels, so it works well. Okay, screw it. I'm just gonna say it real quick because I feel awkward being that vague. So skip to this timestamp if you really want to avoid any types of spoilery info. The message is, be grateful and appreciative of your parents / guardians / close loved ones in your life, if you do have good ones. If you have bad ones, I'm sorry. It also kind of plays with the message that there's two sides to every story, which I feel like is kind of personified in how Candace's mother is portrayed in the majority of the story through his perspective, but I feel like if they really wanted to hit that one home, the story could have used a little more time, but it was still worth mentioning. The first thing about cherishing loved ones was handled really well though. Alright, we're back, and if you didn't skip, I'm still here. There's really not much else I can say about the story. I can't go super in-depth like I do for others because it's a relatively short, but also simple story. And let me clarify, I don't mean simple in a bad way. The whole story just feels almost like a relaxing walk next to the sea. It's short, over before you know it, but it stays with you.
At least, that's what I'm assuming a walk next to the sea is like. You see, I don't go outside. Oh, hold on a second. Oh. Wait, what? There's dopamine outside?
It's a straightforward, short story, but an emotionally effective one at that. I can definitely recommend this visual novel for the story alone. And before I start talking about the other aspects of the visual novel, let me just mention the story differences between the free version and the plus version. The core story is the same, but the plus version has 3 theaters, which are basically random side stories, and then also side stories, which are side stories, but normal ones? 2 of them are at least. You have to unlock the theaters, but if I'm being honest, they're short and weird, and I don't really see a reason to read them, unless you just want 100% the visual novel, of course. Like, I don't know if I was missing something, or I'm just not appreciative of their random humor, but they were there, and they were more words to read. They weren't bad, just more of a why? Anyways, the side stories, however, 2 out of 3 of them are really good and expand upon the story nicely. Neither were necessary by any means, but they were cool additions. There is also an epilogue in the plus version. It's just one short added scene showing how our main character is doing after the main events of the story. I almost feel like it should have just been a scene that played immediately after the credits. It almost felt weird to have it separated from the main story. Not that it was hard to find, it's as simple as clicking extra then going to epilogue, but still felt a little weird. The side stories in epilogue you unlock just by playing the story, and the first of the side stories are epilogue to unlock. So it's not like you have to go out of your way to get them. Moving on to the artwork. The artwork is pretty good. I like the background art of the sea especially. The animated water gives it a nice touch. The character sprite you'll be spending the most time looking at is definitely Maris's, and I like her design and the variety of sprites she has. That being said, there are just a couple sprites of her that I think look a little awkward, but I can't exactly put into words why. I think it might be the placement of the eyes as opposed to the rest of her face, but it just looks a little off and it did distract me quite a bit. But maybe that's just me. The rest of the art, including the CGs, while nothing amazing, definitely gets the job done, and there are a couple that do stick out to me. I actually think the subdued nature of the art actually adds to the atmosphere of the story, which, as I mentioned before, is something along the lines of a relaxing walk by the sea. That's all I'll say for the artwork for this review.
I mean, it's still better than anything I can do. I can only do this good. Oh, silly me. This is my House and Fata Morgana art book. I mean, I can only do anything this good. No, this is the Persona 5 Royal art book. I can only do anything that... Huh. Maybe I'm just a good artist.
Well, anyways, now for the soundtrack and other audio elements of this visual novel. Yep, this is definitely music, alright. I was scared it was just going to be constant pain screaming like when I had to record the soundtrack to the visual novel Scream. And no, the title isn't a reference to the 1996 slasher horror film directed by the late Wes Craven.
Okay, and you're sure? Just screaming. That's all you want. Alright, I got it. Just screaming.
Ah! Want to guess what the script to the visual novel was?
The soundtrack for the visual novel. While I'm being honest, none of the tracks stood out to me as particularly great. They did, however, add to the atmosphere of the story. And take a shot every time I say the word atmosphere in this review. I dare you.
Wait till we get to the atmosphere section of this review.
You know, I'm really great at reviewing things, aren't I?
In all seriousness, the soundtrack was definitely on the softer side and relied heavily on piano, and I think it worked well for the story. And the piano music during the more emotional segments of the story was really good. That's about all I got. See, I'm not good with this sort of thing. Kind of like the art, nothing phenomenal that's gonna rock your world like the song Noise by Nightwish, but it definitely suited the story. And unlike awkward character sprites, I can't see audio.
Not yet, I'm working on it.
So it gets a pass. The sound design is really good too. The constant but never annoying sounds of the waves felt very relaxing and just put me in a good mood to read the story. Other various sound effects used for CG events or stuff like the staticky sections of the story away from the beach fit the scenes perfectly and never sounded out of place for me. What did sound out of place, unfortunately, was the voice acting. There's no easy way to say this, but the voice acting was bad. First and foremost, the mic quality was not great. I could definitely hear some echo and background noise, and for me, that definitely takes me out of the story a bit. It's distracting. Now for a positive thing I can say about the voice acting, I think the voices fit the characters. Unfortunately, when it comes to line delivery, they drop the ball. Every line kind of just sounds the same, or like it was just given to a voice actor without a sense of direction. And the result of that, unfortunately, is most of the spoken dialogue sounding either lifeless or with the wrong emotion for the scenario the character is in. There were a couple times where the voice actors actually had really good delivery, and I saw potential for what the story could have been voice acted. Unfortunately, those instances were few and far between. And the poor delivery, along with the poor quality of the audio at times, is a serious downside to the point where I would recommend playing the game without voice acting. The voice acting is exclusive to the Plus version of the game. I'd recommend if you're playing the game for the first time, play it without voice acting. Then for rereads, give the voice acting a shot. It's worth it to hear the effort put forth by the voice actors to bring life to the story. And who knows, you may even enjoy it or be able to look past its flaws. But I think overall, the voice acting breaks the immersion of the story, and I wouldn't recommend it for enjoying the story to its fullest. Overall, Voices from the Sea is a great experience. Sure, the voice acting wasn't great, and a couple of the character sprites for Maris look weird, but aside from that, you have a short, relaxing story with an important and emotional message to tell. And if you get the regular version, it's free, which definitely doesn't hurt either. I rate Voices from the Sea Plus a 7 out of 10. Now, is the Plus version worth getting? I think so. While one of its biggest draws was the voice acting, which fell flat, most of the added story content was really good and left me satisfied. That, and you can customize the home screen of the game, check out some author's notes, and view an image, music, and character gallery, the latter of which also has author's notes regarding the creation of the characters. I understand that paying $5 for a roughly 90-minute game can seem weird, so if you're still skeptical, here's my advice. Download and play the free version. It won't take long, and I think you'll enjoy it. If you do, spend the $5 to get the Plus version of the game and access to the added content I just mentioned earlier. This way, you already know you like it, and if it still feels overpriced, enjoy the fact you're supporting the author to a story you enjoyed. Now for the Who is Best Girl segment, and the best girl of Voices from the Sea is Cantus's mother. Normally I would say a bit why, but even describing this character for too long feels like a spoiler considering the fact the story is not even 2 hours long. But I like her character sprite, allow me to say that. Yeah, she best girl. Well everyone, I hope you enjoyed this review. For anyone who has played the game, what did you think of it? Do you agree with my score? And tell me in the comments what you thought of the theater and side stories. As for anyone who has never heard of this visual novel, or was maybe thinking about getting it, I hope I did an adequate job of reviewing it and maybe even convincing you to get it.
Well, that's it for this video. This has been Hopefully an OK Editor 357 here, and thank you everyone for watching. Now if you excuse me, I need to go to the sea. You see, ever since I recorded the soundtrack for the visual novel Scream, there's been this never-ending pained screaming in my head,
So I'm just gonna see if, well, I play this visual novel, maybe if I go to the sea, there will be some voices that'll pop up in there to drown out the never-ending screaming. Here's hoping. Nope, no voices. Still just screaming. I will say, that is a mighty fine sea, though. I'm such a great artist.